have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock. I don't even have to watch a clock.
Hello, welcome to the Bold Moves podcast. I am Mandy Bryce and I am the host of this show. If you are new to the podcast, let me explain what's happening. On Mondays, I do an interview with an incredible person who has made leaps outside of their comfort zone with the hope that it'll inspire some listeners to take steps out of their comfort zones as well and toward the lives of their dreams. This week is no exception. I chatted with Katie French, who is another one of the amazing authors who works with the Primal Blueprint Publishing Group. She left her job as a litigator and decided instead to be a health coach and has now began her own online bootcamp and is an author. And speaking of her being an author, stay tuned to the end because you can find out how to win a copy of her book. All right, I think she tells her story much better than I do. So without any further ado, here is my interview with Katie French. All right, everyone, welcome to the Bold Moves podcast. I am with Katie French today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to have the show with you.
I'm so excited to chat with you. So obviously you know that the show is called Bold Moves and you wouldn't be here if you hadn't made some yourself. So why don't you give me a little bit of your story and the highlights of the bold moves you've made to get you here?
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, the move that I took from being I was a litigation attorney in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay.
And I dreamed of that career my whole life. I knew I wanted to be an attorney when I was just a kid and I pursued it. And it was awesome, and I really did enjoy it. And then I find myself transitioning out of that career into the nutrition world. I became a certified health coach, and I started a business as a cooking coach. And so huge transition, and everyone in my life was just absolutely shocked. My bosses, they could not believe what I was choosing to do, but I just felt so compelled to make that transition.
Sure.
There was obviously a lot to it. You don't just give up, a career of that nature just on a whim. So
right.
I just, I think I first started thinking about these things just when I was a busy working professional. It was so hard for me to maintain the diet and lifestyle that I wanted amidst that career. I was working 12-hour days oftentimes. I was going in on the weekends oftentimes. And so just wanting to stick with I eat paleo, paleo primal diet. And so wanting to stick with that, a whole food-based diet, you basically have to cook everything that you eat.
Sure.
Now it's becoming a lot easier to get convenience foods that are paleo, and they are starting restaurants. And so that's awesome. But, we're talking like 10 years ago. So,
sure.
So I was finding it really hard to stick to that and really having to make it a priority and learning that you have to be so intentional about your meal planning. And if you want to eat a specific way, you have to be intentional about it. And so I just saw how much my colleagues were struggling with that. And I was able to find a groove and start doing some things that really helped me eat that way and have basically what I learned why it was so valuable was it kept my energy up. I would have these grueling days and be so tired. And I did litigation specifically. So I'd be in court and in trial and gosh, I was just like so tired. And so I had to figure out a way to maintain my energy as best as I could. And I really found that correlation with food. And so I had some tips and some tricks that I was using, and I really developed this plan for myself. And I can go into that. But that's basically where I started when I transitioned out of being a lawyer and into becoming a health coach. I really felt this call to action and this need to support busy professionals to figure out how to eat healthy and exercise and maintain the type of lifestyle that they need to maintain in order to have the energy to have the careers that they want.
Absolutely. So I'm going to kind of go back and ask a few questions about your story so far. Where in the Bay Area are you living?
So San Francisco Bay Area, like Peninsula. I kind of
You
lived
can be
all over the
specific.
place.
I just moved from the Bay Area like
Oh, no
a
way.
few months
That's
ago. Yeah.
awesome. I went to Cupertino High School. So mostly
Okay.
like South Bay, Saratoga area. I also went to law school in San Francisco. So really all over the Bay. I've lived. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Because if people are listening and aren't familiar, I was living at right where Mountain View, Los Altos, and Palo Alto meet. So
Okay.
San Antonio and El Camino.
Oh, I
And
totally know it.
yeah, absolutely. And
That's
so
so cool.
a lot of people might not know that that's the most expensive area in the
Oh my
country
gosh.
to live in. And so having a lawyer's salary, I'm sure, helped with the
Yeah.
cost of living, which makes your move even bolder to go
Yes.
to health coaching, which may not be as reliable, consistent, stable of an
Yep.
income
Yep.
as a lawyer. And you mentioned that you were a litigation attorney, and I know a lot of attorneys, so I know exactly what that means. And you said that you're in trial, but can you talk a little bit more about a litigation attorney versus maybe other types of attorneys? I think litigation is what people imagine, and then they don't
Yeah.
realize that there's the people who deal with contracts and then never
Yeah.
go to court and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, I did litigation, and I guess the opposite of that, or the other side of the spectrum, would be transactional, which would be like writing contracts, meeting with clients, and kind of giving them business advice.
Sure.
Litigation is we go to trial. So we take an issue before a judge and we try to prove our client's case, and you win some, you lose some, but it's intense. I mean, you have to be on the entire time. You have to think on your feet. Trials are very stressful, and there's not a lot of time. And not only did I do litigation, but I did divorce litigation. So the emotions run so high, especially if you're talking about working with children. Custody
Sure.
litigation is just, it pulls at the heartstrings.
I'm sure it
Definitely.
does.
Yeah. And so just very high stress job. And, always, you sit down to write a brief, and your client on another case calls you and there's this emergency and you have to go to court. Like there's just, it's so unpredictable, your day. I could never sit down and plan my day, and I'm a planner. So that was always really challenging. I just had to go with the flow. You're always on the move, and you're always like just putting out fire after fire after fire. So there's very few professions, I think, that are as stressful as a divorce litigation attorney. So that's what I was doing.
I can only imagine. I did makeup on a woman who was a divorce litigation attorney as well. And she told me about one of her clients that took copies of her husband's like social security card and like all of his bank information and went into the Mall of America parking lot and just threw copies of his financial information. And it's just crazy to think that at one point these two people were in love with each other and like got married and had their whole lives ahead of them, and then like what happens to go from
wouldn't believe. I mean, that is just like the tip of the iceberg, what you see as a family law attorney. And yeah, the stories are crazy, and you do your best, but it's people are at their absolute worst when they're going through it. And so you have to have compassion for that, but sometimes you're just like, what are you doing?
Yeah. That's interesting that you brought the compassion point up, because in a past life, I was a teacher, a middle school teacher in the inner city. And a lot of times when people want to move up in the education world, they go into administration and become a principal. And I was just like, I would hate that. People aren't excited going to the principal's office. It's rarely for something good. I don't want to see people at their worst. So that's another thing. But I'm sure you also helped a lot of people. So
there's that. Yeah, you do your best, and sometimes you're like, why do I do this? And but for me, nutrition and health has always been a huge part of my life. I was always an athlete growing up, playing sports, and I always also saw the correlation between my diet. I would be able to run farther and have more endurance when I ate healthy, whole foods versus eating, junk food. And I would, the next day at practice, I'm just like, oh, I don't feel good. So I very early on in my life, I saw that correlation. And so I just kind of continued to play sports, exercise, try to eat healthy. I come from a family of really good cooks, and so we really did have a lot of home cooking growing up. We also ate a lot of processed foods, a lot of junk foods.
I think that's just kind of the last 30 or so years. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Kind of crazy, but I think that's most people's stories, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I was just starting to I don't know, did a lot of self-education, researching, just looking up ways of eating. I think paleo, I was gluten-free long before I was paleo. I found that way of life. And then I started CrossFit, and then I learned about paleo because they really go hand in hand for a lot of people. And so then I started that eating. I, did a lot of research on why people were eating that way. I'm not one to just do something. I need to understand it and, really, really just understand why people were eating paleo. I'm not about just restricting things, but I wanted to understand the impact of it on my body and all of those things. So I became really interested in that. And then I just, I wanted to find a way to make it work. And so what I started doing in my own life when I was working, I realized that there was no possibility that I was going to cook dinner when I got home from work. I could have had the best intentions in the world. I could have had the food in the fridge ready to go to cook, but it wasn't going to happen. I was just too tired. So I recognized that was the truth. And so I just thought, okay, I just got to cook ahead of time. When I do have time, when I do feel like I have some energy to cook, I need to cook as much as I can. So I started to develop this method, meal prepping, absolutely. And so I would just, on the weekends, I would sit down with some cookbooks and I'd plan out my meals for the week. And I really would try to plan them out for the entire week because I needed to have breakfast on the go. I needed to have lunch that I could just, stuff my face while I'm sitting at my desk. Because I was literally seeing my colleagues eat candy bars for lunch. That is just what our job kind of forced us into. You literally had something that you had to grab and eat, or you weren't going to eat lunch, or you're going to eat a candy bar. So I started just finding meals that I knew that I could make. And then that would be, I could eat them if they were cold. I could eat them on the go. They could be in my car for a couple hours and still taste good. And just really looking for really durable types of recipes, and definitely on the go foods. That's a big thing that I promote with my clients because everyone is busy. Everyone is time crunched. And so then I would write up the meal plan, write up the grocery list. I'd go to the farmer's market typically because I was really nutrient dense food was really important to me. Try to get
farmers markets in the Bay Area are amazing.
They're amazing. They're like events every Friday and Saturday.
That is one of my favorite parts of living there.
The one at the community college in the San Mateo area is just it's so fun, and they have food trucks and it's just great. I love it. And so I would get my groceries and then go to the grocery store too and get the rest of everything, and then just go home and just carve out time. I'd put it on my calendar. Okay, for these 2 hours, I'm cooking as much as I can. So it was also important to me to have recipes that were easy enough that I could make bulk meals easy enough. But I'm also coming from a family of really good cooks. I'm not just going to eat something because it's good for me. I literally don't do that. I only eat if it tastes good. I will not just every once in a while, if I just have to, I'll eat something begrudgingly that I don't like the taste of. But so it's really hard to find meals that are, last for a long time, that, you can take on the go, that tastes good, and that you can cook quickly. So I was like, all right, I've got my job cut out for me. So I just started this process doing it on my own, a lot of trial and error and a lot of my own type of recipe development, because there wasn't a lot of paleo recipe resources back then. So I was, taking another a non-gluten-free or a non-paleo recipe and then developing it into a paleo recipe. And so that was just every weekend I carved that time out. I made an appointment with myself to sit down, meal plan, go get the groceries and cook, and then do it. And then I became really successful at it. And it was really working for me. And I was feeling really good and really accomplished. And I would have my colleagues would always be really curious about what I was up to. And they'd ask, what do you have today, Katie? What did you make? Asking me for meal plans, asking me for recipes, and to help them, how do you do this? We really want to feel better. I think most people are so well intentioned. It's just that they don't have the skills or the tools to be able to have the healthy lifestyle that they know will make them feel better. So instead they eat a candy bar for lunch or ice cream for lunch. And then I'm just, I just wanted to share with people. I wanted to help people figure out how to do it, because you just don't learn. You really don't learn how to balance a busy life and a healthy life it doesn't come easily. So I just felt really compelled to help my colleagues. And then I think there really was a pivotal moment for me, and I don't know why necessarily, but I was in bed watching TED Talks, which I just love TED Talks. And
Absolutely.
I was watching one that had to do with our food sourcing. And Jamie Oliver, the chef,
I love him.
he does so much great work. And as a former teacher, I'm sure you're really impressed by his work too. He does so much great work in the U.S. And he was talking about, like, I just remember the sentence. He said, there are 3 generations of Americans in this country, Americans, 3 generations of Americans who do not know how to cook. And that just hit me upside the head. I'm like, what? So that's, that's grandma, mom, daughter. I couldn't believe that. So all of their food is processed, packaged, restaurant food.
Yeah.
They are getting no home cooked meals. They're getting no whole foods unless they're, chopping up carrots or something, but they're probably not doing that either. Right. And I was just absolutely dumbfounded by that. And, if someone would have asked me, do I think that's true? Absolutely. I think that's true. But for some reason, it just hit me so hard that I realized 3 generations, that's going to be 4 generations. And then he also said the statistics that our children are not going to live as long as we live because of, obesity and just the food culture here. And I was this is
heartbreaking.
Too much. It's heartbreaking. And I just could not do something about that. I just could not do something about that. And I'm like, okay, I have some skills. I've learned how to navigate a busy life, very stressful life, and how to navigate it with keeping up with my diet and lifestyle that's supportive of how busy I am. I'm going to take this leap of faith, and I'm going to help people. I'm going to support busy professionals, busy families, and help them figure out, because that's a whole nother sector of our culture. It's not just the single busy working professionals. What about those busy moms and dads that are trying to feed their family and trying to make sure that their children eat well, but they are so time crunched? And so that's a big, I support both. I support kind of the single, I'm on my own, or maybe I'm a couple busy professional, and then I support the moms or the dads who are in charge of food for the household. So I left behind everything, and I'm not one to regret anything about life. I think that life moves us in such beautiful and amazing directions if we just let it. And so I didn't look back. I moved forward, and now I'm, we're kind of talking because I'm at a point now where I've developed this digital cooking program. So kind of how my business developed is that I started working one-on-one with clients. I decided that I wanted to get a certification to support this big move that I was making. So I got a health coach certification. I started coaching my clients, but realizing that just talking to them about their nutrition, it wasn't getting us far enough. I was realizing they're still eating the candy bar for lunch, and they're still, getting home and not cooking dinner. So they're ordering in. So then I started asking my clients if they would find it beneficial if I would go and help them with these steps. So I'd do grocery store visits, and I would develop meal plans for them based on their food preferences. And I'd go into their kitchen and cook with them for 2 hours and do the exact same method that I had. So I'd develop these meal plans that I thought that they would like based on their food preferences, and we'd cook together for a couple hours, and they would have all their food for the week. And I found that on the weeks when I would do that with them, they were on track. They felt great. The correlation, it was there, and they knew it. It was undeniable. And then on the weeks when they didn't do that intentional meal planning, meal prepping, the wheels would come off, and they would feel really crappy, and their energy would be low, and it would just snowball out of control. And
when you have a good choice that's available and just ready to go, it's easy to take it. But when you're exhausted and in a hurry and you don't have the option, eat something, and it's usually not a great option.
Totally true. Even if you don't even like it that much, if it's ready to go, you're way more likely to eat that versus going out and getting something. But I try not to make my clients eat things that they don't like. But so that was working so well. And I'm like, okay, how can I help more people? I'm always like, how can I help more people? How can I help more people? How do I scale this up? So I thought about, let me just do a cooking class, I'll start teaching a group instead of just one-on-one, that I can reach more people. And so I came up with the class was called Paleo Cooking Bootcamp, which is now my brand, and it's the name of my cookbook and the name of my digital program. And that just like came to me. I'm like, I like the sound of that, because what people have to learn is that you have to be really intentional and you have to be efficient in the kitchen. You know, you can't dilly-dally. We don't have time for that, right? You can't waste your time. So cooking is a skill. Absolutely. Some people just say, oh, I'm not a good cook. I don't know how to cook. Well, yes, you don't, because it's a skill that you develop. You know, some people are good cooks, but it's only after they develop that skill, or they grow up in a household with good cooks and they're exposed to it. So like I've worked with people who have never chopped a carrot in their life, and you know, they get to a point where they develop the confidence that now they are cooking meals. Now they are developing their own recipes that they like, and they're adding a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it's just a skill. You can gain confidence in it. You can become really good at it. Some people have like a great palate, and so they are meant to be chefs, and some people can at least cook for themselves in a healthy way. So I've never met somebody that I couldn't teach how to cook. So that's really fun. But so I started this cooking class, and it's the same premise, because this is what works for busy people. You set it, you are intentional about what you want to be eating, what do you want to be fueling your body with. You come up with a meal plan every week for what you're going to eat for the week, and you cook in bulk. And that's what works. And it worked for me. It worked for my clients. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to mess with this model. This is what works. And so that's what I would do in my classes. So I rented out a commercial kitchen in San Mateo. It's really cool, like incubator kitchen. It's called Kitchen Town. And we would, it's great commercial kitchen. So I had everything that we needed, and I could accommodate up to 6 students at a time. And each student had their own cooking station. So like they all had their own food processors. They all had their own cutting boards. So they are learning how to cook the recipes. And basically all I would do is stand there and hand them food and say, do this with it, do that with it. And they would be making their own dishes, and they would have their own pot, and their neighbor would have their own pot. So everything that they made, they were making. I wasn't making it for them. I was just telling them the steps basically. And then they would leave that 2-hour cooking session with all their food for the week. So they'd have breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack options, everything. And so people loved it. They came and they had fun with me for 2 hours, and we laughed and we joked, but it was a boot camp. We kept to task. I can be a task master when necessary. I can tell people what to do. I guess that's the litigation attorney in me. But so, and we'd all, within 2 hours, everything would be done. And people were just dumbfounded. Like, how do we cook that much food in 2 hours?
Yeah, that amazes me, because I've tried meal prepping, and I generally am blessed that I am able to cook a lot of nights. So I usually just go to the grocery store almost every day and kind of make that happen. But when I have meal prepped, I can definitely say I've never prepared a whole week's worth of food in 2 hours. It sounds very rewarding.
I know. It's very surprising. I had so many people tell me, Katie, that's not possible. Like you're just like, this is hyperbole. This is not possible. We cannot do this. And I'm like, yes, we'll do it. Don't worry, we'll do it. And then we do it. And they're like, I can't believe we did that. It was so rewarding. And I loved people coming back, and like week after week, they just liked that time. So what I had intended was that I would just give them, it was a month's worth of classes. So I think a month is such a great foundation for continuing something on your own. You start to feel, you feel better. Everything is kind of resolving itself. If you had any kind of like digestive issues or, just low energy, whatever people are kind of, whatever compelled them to make this change or to continue on this path, they're seeing the results of it within 30 days, like no question about it. And so then I wanted people to basically go do it on their own. I teach you, you go do it on their own. But then I found that people, they wanted to come back. They're like, no, I like this. Like, I do it. Like, they carve out the time, they do it, and they go home. And when they were trying to do it on their own, some people stuck with it so well, but then some people wanted to come back to the class. They're like, I just like this way of doing it. And amidst that, I really wanted to still scale it up even more. How do I help even more people? Because the results were just amazing. Like, and people just take to it, and then they get that confidence like I was talking about. And they've got this foundation of this great way of eating, and it's rewarding, and they know why they're doing it. And so I kind of always envisioned that it would be a digital program, this class model. And then I got hooked up with Primal Blueprint Publishing, Mark Sisson's brand, and it was just a really good fit in terms of they had the same vision. I self-published an ebook, an e-cookbook, which was a compilation of menus from my class, wanting to make this accessible to more people. And then I submitted that proposal to kind of make because I didn't have the resources behind me to really get it out there. Like, okay, I'm only selling like 100 copies at a time, every quarter or whatever. I need more. Like I need to get this out there more. And so then I started submitting book proposals, and Primal Blueprint, they contacted me and they said, we really like this. This is like really unique, and you're making it really easy for people. And just after some talks, I felt like it was such a good synergy between my brand and their brand. And so we started working together, and from the get-go, Brad Kearns, who's one of the big guys at Primal, he basically said, I could see this being a digital program. And to me, I'm like, I've always wanted it to be a digital program. So I just really felt like we were moving in the same direction. And so we just decided, they have a great guy there, Brian, who does filmmaking. He's such a great filmmaker, and he's done a lot of films for them. And so he shot the videos, and we had a great photographer, and it just really came together beautifully. And so what we are now doing is, it's called Paleo Cooking Bootcamp. It's still called that, and it's just basically my classes that are videoed. And instead of me just talking to the camera and cooking to the camera, I actually had 2 students per class come in with me, and I'm teaching them. They did all the work. I help a little bit here and there, but I really wanted to show, again, it's like, it's not just because I'm good at this. Like, that's what anybody can do this. So I had some people that have never cooked before, and some people who are moms. One of the women in my class on the video, she's a mother of 3, and so she's quite efficient at chopping things and cooking. And so just anybody can do this, really. And that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be something that anybody could do, and for it to be good enough, though, so people who have who are a little more picky about what they eat. It's not like a bodybuilder diet, like bland, really like
chicken breast and rice and bag.
Exactly. Like, that's easy, but and what I found is those kind of diets, those assembly diets, or bodybuilder diets, as I call them. Yeah. They're not sustainable long term because they're not good. Right. You're not eating it because it's delicious. You're eating it because it's going to get you to some goal you have. Right. So in order for it to be sustainable, it has to be satisfying. So that's always the balance point. But yeah, so I'm really excited about this program. It's 4 weeks worth of cooking classes. So the idea, it's almost like a workout video. So, I give you the list for your groceries for each week, and you go to the grocery store, and it's broken down by section of the grocery store. So produce, get all the produce, move on to the next section, get everything you need, and then go home and you turn on the video and you cook for 2 hours. That is the goal, and that is what you can accomplish. Some people in the beginning, it takes a little bit longer because you're learning the recipes and you're learning, how to do certain skills. And I show you how to do certain skills, like how do you break down an onion? How do you break down a butternut squash? Things like that. So it's not expected that you know how to do all those things. In fact, it's expected that you don't. And if you can fast forward. But so it's like me in your kitchen holding you accountable, like a personal trainer for your kitchen is what we're doing. I
love that analogy.
Yeah, it's exciting because, some people, they just want that. They want that video. They want to turn on that video. They want some company while they cook. They don't just want to do it by themselves. They want, they want something a little bit more. And it's really for those people who benefit. And I've been promoting as part of this course to do it with friends. I could even see people renting their own commercial kitchen and having a little group and, doing it, really being intentional. I mean, that's every time I say it, it's being intentional, figuring out how to do this, how to fit this in your life. And if you stick, it's a month. So it's every single weekend for 4 weeks in a row to establish that foundation. And what I found really interesting is that people will always go off track. Brad actually interviewed me. Brad Kearns interviewed me. He said, what if people go off track? What if people don't follow this? I'm like, that's good, actually, because that week that they go off track, they'll eat the candy bar for lunch and then they'll feel awful. And it's really good for people to like, remember, why did I start this? Why does this make me feel so good? Why is this worth it? So what I like about it is if you go off track, you have this program to come back to. You know, it's not, you don't have to wait for my next in-person class and maybe I'm not teaching in a schedule that's good for you. Like just get
or
the
maybe you have the candy bar on Monday and then Monday night you're like, all right, it's grocery store.
Okay, I've gone to the grocery store.
I'm not waiting for the weekend. I need
exactly. So it's a way to fit this method into your life even better. And I know everyone could probably do this on their own if they were motivated enough, but it takes so much time. It took me so much time to develop the right semblance of recipes and what's like, how do I create a template for a meal plan that really feel like I can really eat from it the entire week. You know, you could go, I give the example that you could go and you could do this. You could look at a bunch of cookbooks and you could write up the grocery list and you could go home and cook it. And then it's terrible food and you don't like it. And you're just not motivated to eat it. So you've wasted all this money and you've wasted all of this time and you're back to square one. And so this is really like a tried and true meal for people who want to eat paleo primal. It's tried and true way of doing it, and these are recipes that families love. I've had a lot of clients come to through my bootcamp program that have children, and you know, I've had like some wonderfully cute stories where like the dad and the son are fighting over a certain dish, like that's mine, don't eat any more of that. Like, and like that just warms my heart when people, you know, when children especially want to eat this way, when the food is good enough that they don't even know it's paleo or they want to eat it. There's nothing better than that.
I love that. Question on that with your program. Now I'm married to a man who eats a ton. And it's funny because it's great for me as a okay cook that he actually doesn't care if it tastes good as long as it's healthy. So that has saved my butt on several occasions where I'm like, oh, I'm just going to throw what we have in the fridge together and see what happens. And I'm like, I'm not eating it, but he'll still eat it because he's clean. But I remember when I was single, if I was going to make a meal, and this could, I guess, be a little advantageous in meal prepping, but I would hate if I made, for example, lasagna, which I haven't made in years. But let's say I made lasagna, then I'm eating lasagna by myself for like 8 days because
right.
lasagna takes forever. You've mentioned families are part of this program. How do you kind of control for whether someone is cooking just for themselves or whether they are cooking for themselves and their husband and kids or their wife and kids or whatever?
So portion wise, this particular program that we're releasing right now is for 1 to 2 people. So it can, I guess when I'm talking about families, it's stuff that children will eat, but this kind of meal plan would have to be adapted for more than 2 people.
So you could double it or...
Right. Yeah. And like, so my goal too, I mean, everyone is different. There's no way I could come up with a program where everyone would like every single recipe. Right. So I've just kind of like culled the best of the best to hope that I can accomplish that. But I know it's not possible. So, so under that perspective, I want people to make it their own. I want for people to like understand that, okay, this ragu that we're making, like that makes a lot. So for a family of 4, it would feed them for several days. For a family of 2, you probably need to freeze them unless you have a very big eater, then it might be okay. But it's figuring out like how to fit this framework within your own unique lifestyle. First, you got to try out the program really and like just, you know, understand like the benefits of this method and then adapt it to your family so it can fit even better into your lifestyle. And I mean, really what I tell people, because I do a lot of meal planning coaching and cooking coaching. So not necessarily, they're not, my program is just now available. So they're not necessarily buying my program. They're buying my strategies, my one-on-one strategies. And so what I tell people is that really all you need is 4 to 6 weeks of meal plans for the rest of your life. I mean, if you get to week 6 and then you go back to week 1 again, like week 7, now you're trying something you had 6 weeks ago, that's going to seem brand new, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you don't really need to, it's not all that much work if you just put the work in on the front end. Like if you just come up with 4 to 6, and when people, they do a great job, they do the meal planning, they write it all down, they make the grocery list, and then they throw it away when they're done. I'm like, why did you do that? Now you're going to have to reinvent the wheel,
Right.
so it's just keep those systems. So to the extent that this, tweak them. So the extent that this program needs to be modified because you have more people or less people to cook for than 1 to 2, then keep track of that and make this program like absolutely fit your lifestyle. Like it already will fit most people's lifestyle, but you can even make it that much better, and you can literally have your meal planning dialed in for the rest of your life with not much effort, which I think is so cool. Like we have enough to think about.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that it is designed for 1 or 2 people, because I have a lot of single friends who don't like cooking just because either like pasta is really easy to do for one person, but you don't want to have pasta, especially if you are conscious of the paleo movement. You don't want to do that every night. So having something that's, healthy and makes sense, I think is really valuable. So that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. And in the cookbook that follows the program, I do like say, this recipe is freezable, or this is really easy to make a double batch of and freeze half, or, whatever. So I try to give tips wherever I can on like how to, either make more if you have a bigger, if you're feeding more people, or where you can freeze things. And I really do try to make most things that are freezable potentially, especially when it is just one person doing this program. Sure. That was often the case in my in-person class. And so I would have, clients, I froze like half that ragu because I couldn't eat all of it. I'm like, great. And they, in an emergency when they just didn't do their intentional meal planning, then they can just pull it out of the freezer. So that's really helpful.
That's perfect. You may have touched on this already, and I think maybe listeners can probably sense what it is. But it's also possible that you may not know. But a question I like to ask people is, what is your purpose? What would you say your purpose is?
My purpose is to get people to understand the link between energy and food and feeling good in food, and help them be able to feed themselves so that they can have the best possible life that they want. There are so many people who are just miserable because of their food choices. Like it's crazy to me. There are so many ailments. There are so many diseases that are rooted in food. And so I know that, and I can show people that with this way of eating, and then they're just like, oh my gosh, those headaches went away overnight, that acne went away overnight, like sure. Those digestive issues, I just feel so good. So I know people feel good when they eat this way, and I want to help them figure out how to make this a lifestyle for the rest of their lives so they can live out the life that they want to live, and they don't have to be sick or miserable or low energy or unhappy. I want people to live full lives, and I know that eating the right way can help them with that. And so I'm so passionate about helping people. I figured out a method to do that. And I'm just by nature a very systematic and organized person. That's just one of my life skills. Yeah. And so I can show people how to do it and make it as easy as possible so that they don't have to think about this stuff anymore. They can just eat healthy and enjoy their lives.
I love that. And I've mentioned this before because you are, I think, the 4th or 5th person from Primal Blueprint Publishing that I've
funny. Awesome.
And so Primal and Paleo have come up a few times. And initially, my husband got into it and then told me about it. And I was at first reluctant because I said, well, the food guide pyramid has 6 to 12 servings of grains. And like, why would it say that otherwise? And then I read the Primal Blueprint and tried it, and I realized, like you said, the energy was just crazy. Like I would eat a cheeseburger or something and then get in the car and start falling asleep.
Right.
Or even when like friends and family visit and I go out to eat, and instead of, sticking to my goals, I'm like, oh, it's vacation, I'll have this, and then the next thing I know, I'm asleep. And I'm just like totally, then I was just like, okay, it makes sense. I don't want to feel that way anymore. And that made a huge difference. Yeah. And that's not even as extreme as, like you mentioned, the ailments that people have that are completely lifestyle choice related, it's unimaginable the impact that you could have. I saw something today that said, nature's so brilliant, they put medicine into food or into vegetables or something. And I'm like, that's so cool. I never thought of it that way.
It's so true. I mean, you can manage so many chronic illnesses, and you can cure them. I mean, it's people, who they don't necessarily buy into that, but then you just give it a try. And I don't like taking things away from people, especially like with food. People are it's very emotional. Almost everybody. If you're not emotional about food, then you're one of the lucky ones, I guess. Maybe not. I don't know, but it's rare, especially in all the nutritional coaching that I've done. It's so rare for me to meet somebody who doesn't really care about food that much. And so I don't believe in restricting and taking away things. I think that you end up like overcompensating. Like you restrict to the point where your body, you go crazy. It happens every single time. Like there's an absolute like physiological correlation in doing that. Your body it can't be in a state of being restricted for too long. And sometimes it's just emotional. Like, what do you consider restrictive? And so, that's a whole nother topic. But
I was going to say, for me, if I'm not supposed to have it, that's all I want. And exactly. I wouldn't normally, but just because I shouldn't.
And so there's so many tips and tricks around that. And I really enjoy that type of coaching. But so I don't, you don't just eat paleo because somebody told you to, or the book you read said to. Like, you have to understand it, first of all. Understand, like, I appreciate the digestive science about it, and like the inflammation, that these certain foods cause, and that inflammation is at the root of all illness and disease. And so you really want to keep that under control. All of those things are really interesting to me. But at the end of the day, it's how does it make you feel? And you have to do these kinds of cleansing diets to really like get all that stuff out, and then figure out when you add them back in, what is happening. And for some people, dairy is highly nutritious. Like it's a great food for some people if they have the right enzymes to break it down, for example. But it's not great for everyone. So I'm a big proponent of figuring out what is your individualized diet look like that makes you feel the best. It's not about you have to stick to these rules and you can't ever not stick to these rules. And some people, they're just like, I will have a cheeseburger once a month. I don't care if it makes me want to take a nap. It's like, fine, that's your personal choice, but you're making a choice about it. And
the empowerment of it.
Yeah, it's worth it to you. And for a lot of people, they're like, that's not worth it. Let me just get a gluten-free bun, because a lot of times it's the gluten that's causing
lettuce wrap.
Something. And then you have basically what you were craving, and then you get to a point where it's more delicious to you because it doesn't make you want to take a nap afterwards.
Right.
Finding that unique, and that's what most people who promote primal and paleo, that's what we all ascribe to. It's like, it's individualized. It's like, and be honest. If something really does not make you feel good, like, be honest about it. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it takes a couple of tries, but living the lifestyle that you want definitely means eating a certain way. And like, for me, I have white rice a few times a week, especially because I'm breastfeeding. And so I need more carbohydrates. And that works for me. It doesn't cause any discomfort. It doesn't make me feel tired. And there's, specific reason why white rice is preferred nutritionally to brown rice. And so I've done all that research too. And so that really works for me. And I know a lot of people who eat paleo also eat white rice. And for a long time, potatoes were not paleo and Whole30, and now they are. And so it's like, things change, and just eat the way that makes you feel good. That's the bottom line. Like, it's not about following any rules, but there are certain things that are known to be like not as good for your digestive system, and to cause low energy and to cause inflammation. There are definitely a list of things. And so that's a starting point, and then you make it your own and what feels good to you.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I think I got this idea from Mark Sisson, is that sometimes I will use carbs to my benefit in the fact that they do make me sleepy, just because I am like, sleeping is definitely not my superpower, especially falling asleep. So sometimes if I'm like, okay, I really need to wind down, I'll be like, okay, let's have some carbs now, because that crash will
Yeah.
happen when I need it to, which is
Right.
kind of fall asleep. So.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who like take like a spoonful of honey right before bed. Like that's totally a thing in the nutrition world. They just feel like that helps, or like combining a carb with a fat right before bed is super helpful. So I think it is, like you use the word empowering. It is so empowering to figure out the diet that makes you feel the best. And how can you kind of hack these like things? Like I love cheeseburgers, like literally. It's like my burgers are my favorite meal ever. But
Have you been to Namburger in Sunnyvale?
No.
You need to go. That's the best burger I've ever had. I'm sorry that this is like a nutrition podcast and burgers, but it's so good.
They have gluten-free in. So I am like probably 80-90% paleo, but then I do some gluten-free grains. I'm 100% gluten-free and have been probably for 8 years or so. But that's like one line I do not cross, but I do some grains, and it's for that emotional part. It's like, I want a cheeseburger. How do I make this? I don't do the cheese, so I want a hamburger. So for me, cheese is like, for me, dairy is not a great product. And again, because I'm breastfeeding, it's like all of these other things that I have to be aware of for the babe. But so yeah, it's emotional. I like burgers, are my favorite. So every once in a while I'll have a gluten-free hamburger, and like, it just makes me so happy. And it doesn't make me feel sick. It makes me feel a little bit less energized. So it's not like something I want to eat all the time, but yeah, you have to have food be satisfying. Otherwise it's just always going to be a struggle. And yeah, I've seen people just completely turn a corner in their relationship with food when they can find healthy, satisfying options.
I love that. So you've mentioned a few different times in our chat so far about research that you've done, and both into changing your career as well as into the science behind the nutritional choices you're making. I'm wondering, and it doesn't have to be restricted to health or nutrition, but if you have books that you would recommend our viewers or listeners check out.
Yeah, so I am such a big fan of Chris Kresser. I don't know, he's out of the Bay Area too. He's a functional medicine doctor out of the East Bay. He just came out with a new book. I haven't read that one yet. Unconventional Medicine, it's called. The Paleo Cure is one of his most popular books, and it's like a Bible for why people eat paleo. Like, the science is there. It's fascinating. So for people who want to know about paleo, but they're really not interested in the science, it's not the book I would recommend. For people who are like, I want to know everything. It's so awesome. It's such a cool book. And he's the same way. He's like, make it your own, make paleo your own. It's not about following rules. So Chris Kresser also has a podcast. He talks about so many interesting topics for people who have any type of autoimmune diseases, or just want to have a different approach to illness or disease. He's a functional medicine doctor who really embraces food and like holistic choices. So I just really love him, and he's so thorough, and he goes to like all the paleo events. He always speaks there. He's just like a really big name in the paleo world. So for me, that resonates with me. I like learning like that. So I love him. In terms of like book recommendations in general that are not nutrition related, so like my favorite books and things that really align with me as a person, there's a book called Outrageous Openness. So you asked me about my favorite books and what I would recommend. So it's called Outrageous Openness, and basically it's this premise. It's a spiritual book, and it's a personal development book, and the premise is that that the perfect solution to whatever question or problem that you have in your life has already been selected. You just have to let yourself be guided by that. You have to you have to get in the flow. So a lot of, entrepreneurs, a lot of people in the business of kind of developing themselves and helping others, and coaches and such, are all about like, be in the flow, don't fight this uphill battle, really try to tune in with what is your life's purpose, and, what is meant to come for you. So it's a lot like that. She really tries to teach through really cool stories, and she was a spiritual advisor. So she talks a lot about her clients' own personal experiences and her own personal experiences about like, how do you trust that there is this path for you that is like the easiest, best, most perfect path that you could ever imagine. And how do you trust that and tune into it and let it come to you and let it happen for you? And that's really around the shift when I went from being an attorney to a nutrition coach. It was really hard. I controlled everything. I controlled every outcome in my life. I mean, that's how I thought that's how I became successful, was just control,
Right.
control, control. Work so hard, work harder than anyone else. And of course, I'm still a hard worker. That's just in my nature, but I was so stressed out too. Like, I was trying so hard to like accomplish these things in my life. And I met a spiritual advisor at one point when I was still very skeptical about any of this. And she said, like, what if you just took a step back and tried to like look at all your options and remained open? Like, maybe this isn't the best option that you thought. Maybe there's this whole other path over here that would show itself to you if you would just let it and not like tunnel vision, go this direction. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to control, control, control. And I'm like, wow, that sounds a lot easier than what I was doing. I mean, it's worth a shot. And so I just got this idea that if I just start remaining open, trusting that there is this bigger plan for me, of things to come that are supportive, not stressful. It's really, that book is all about how you do that, how you develop that intuition to listen to the signs and cues going on around you of what kinds of decisions you should be making, and what kinds of things you should be doing in your life. And it's hard, like, coming from me, control, 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 and skeptical, and I'm the only one who has created success in my life, all of those kinds of things that go very hand in hand and naturally with the litigation attorney, and just taking a hands-off approach and like just waiting and seeing and believing that there is, the best path will show itself and it will be easy. That's what that book is about. It's really profound. Like, and to be honest, like, once you cultivate that, like, I was such a different person. Once I started cultivating that, then things just started happening. These beautiful, wonderful things, these paths just started opening up, these synergies. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm not even trying. And here's this opportunity. Like, this is so awesome. And then the more that you cultivate that, the more, and maybe it's just a change in perspective. Who knows? I don't care. It makes me happy. So whatever it is, it works. And yeah, I mean, I left a stable career for a very unstable and uncertain career, and I couldn't have been happier at that point in my life, because I just believed that everything would happen as it was meant to. And if I eventually needed to go back to my law career, I always could, but I wanted to explore like what was pulling me in this direction. And here I am, and it's a culmination. This digital program is just a culmination of everything I'm so passionate about. And it's just awesome. So I truly believe in those lessons, that there is a perfect solution for anything you're wondering about or any problem that you're having, and you just have to let yourself be guided towards that and be open, and you'll find something that you never knew about that was even better than you could have ever imagined.
I love that. And that's actually something that I've been actively working on so far in 2018
Awesome.
is just having that faith and just knowing that it might not be exactly what I imagined, but being open to it being a lot better even, and in ways that, like you said, you didn't even know existed necessarily, and hopefully it'll just fall into place. So that's cool. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah. If that is what you're working with right now, that is a great book for you. Absolutely great book. And also a book I'm working through right now. It's by Danielle Laporte. She's
I love her.
She's amazing. And the Desire Map, that's her. I don't know if it's her newest, but it's one that I'm working on right now. And she just basically, like, instead of
that's her planner, the Desire Map planner.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I'm pretty sure it's right next to me. But the Desire Map I have on my iPad, so I couldn't.
Just instead of just making these to-do lists and I've got to do this, I've got to change this about myself. Like, no, be guided by how you want to feel. Be guided by how you want to feel and what lights you up. And then you will, of course, meet that goal because you're lit up by it. And then you have, success, and then you feel energized to do the next thing. Like, it's all about, the feelings. What makes you feel good? How are you generating these good feelings? And I found that when I live with a faith that I'll be taken care of and that everything will work out for me, and I'm being guided in the right direction, as long as I don't get in my own way, like, I feel happy about that. So who's to say that's not right? It doesn't matter because it makes me feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Now, going back to what you're talking about with the outrageous openness book and, leaving your stable law career with the potential that you could go back if you needed to, but into this unstable thing, this might be the answer, or it could be something that you haven't brought up yet, but I'm wondering what the scariest thing you've ever done is.
Oh, huh. Yeah, that I wasn't scared. You know what? I wasn't scared. To be honest with you, motherhood for me is really scary.
Okay, you're
Really
not the first
scary.
person to bring up parenting as the scariest.
Yeah, as the scariest thing. Like being in charge of someone else's life, because it's just, it's so wonderful. Like it would, scary is not of course, the only word to describe it. And
Right.
it's almost like it's beautiful because it's scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, being in charge of, because I'm not someone who regrets things, and I really don't look back. If I'm like, okay, I feel like this is the right decision, so how could I regret it? I'm making a decision with everything that I have, all the information that I have, and I believe in it. And but yeah, motherhood, whew, that's something different. It's just like, wow, I have this little life that I am in charge of, and like, how do I support her? Because it's just me. I can take care of myself, right? But it's like, oh, now I got to take care of her and make sure that we have a certain lifestyle. Yeah, so that, I think that has definitely taken the cake. If you would have asked me 7 months ago, before I had this little nugget, it might be different. But I think that for right now, that's the feeling, is like, just gotta. I'm always thinking about her now. It's just an interesting shift in my mindset. Like, she is the priority, and how do I take care of this little being and nurture her little soul? So it's not just meeting her physical needs, it's also making sure that, like, developmentally I'm meeting her needs and emotionally meeting her needs. And yeah, it's scary and really beautiful all at the same time.
That's awesome. So my general follow-up question after the what is the scariest thing you've ever done is asking how to push past fear. Now, obviously, with having a baby, you can give her away or whatever, but you're kind of, for most people, once you've made that commitment, exactly, you're there with it, and you have to push past fear because that's your only option. But to give value to our people who are listening, who are maybe facing a scary decision that doesn't have a automatic, like, you just have to go forward situation, do you have any advice in general on how to push past fear?
I think it would be that general framework that I've developed that's similar to that outrageous openness. It's like, you just have to learn how to trust that everything is going to be okay. I feel like if you don't trust that, then you're going to be paralyzed by fear, I think. So I'm kind of like an eternal optimist by nature. So it's not as hard for me to kind of accept that I'm being taken care of. It's just kind of a new framework for thinking about it. But I think that you have to find a way to cultivate that. How do you trust that you're okay and you're taken care of, and that things will work out, and that, if I get approached with a situation that I don't understand or feel scary or that hurts, I just say, I don't understand this. I don't understand what lesson is to be learned, but I trust that in time I will figure it out, that, something better is going to come because I'm going through this. And that it goes back. You have to trust. You can't fake it either. It won't work if you fake it. You got to truly trust. And for some people, I think that comes more naturally. And for some people, it's really something you have to work on. So I think that finding your own, like when I found outrageous openness, it was because I needed it. I needed to learn how to trust. And it fit really well with me once I did, but I didn't have that resource, and I was just trying to control everything. My motto was, everything will work out because I'll make it work out. That was how I lived my life. That's tiring and stressful. So now it's, everything will work out because I'm being taken care of by whatever you believe in. Doesn't have to be anything religious at all. It's just whatever you believe in, you're being taken care of. And that's where I think people should start if they are working through a fear or something that's really scary, and you really like hit a bottom on it. I think that you have to learn how and get the resources to develop that trust that you are supported and taken care of.
That's great. I'm wondering if you have any other advice, any lessons you've learned recently, things you wish someone would have told you a long time ago, or just in general for anyone listening, something that you think would benefit them.
That's such a great question and like so hard to answer. Advice.
You can go into the nutrition, your
Yeah.
expertise,
I,
or life, however
yeah.
you think you can help.
I think that, yeah, there was an article that I read recently, and it's Is Your Soul Appalled? And I believe it was written by Eat, Pray, Love, and Big Magic. What is her name?
Elizabeth Gilbert?
Yes, I believe it was her article, Is Your Soul Appalled? And the premise of it is that it spoke to me. It spoke to me so clearly, this article. And it basically said that our heart, our soul, whatever, part of you really that you feel things with, could be your heart and your soul, that it communicates to us first with joy. So it tells us, I love this thing. Do more of this. I love this. I love this. I love this.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't listen to that, then your soul will communicate through being appalled. I don't remember the verb she uses, but through basically like making you feel so like sad and so like heartbroken, and that's what you'll start feeling in your life, and your soul will be appalled at like what is going on in your life, and it will speak up, but it will speak up in a very painful way.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's saying, really you need to listen to the joy part, and you need to follow that. Otherwise your soul is going to speak to you through pain, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to suck, and you're going to have to figure that one out. And I feel like when I was having a litigation career, and it was really hard for me to be really healthy, and I'm so stressed out in terms of like my time commitments and everything like that, like my soul wasn't happy. It wasn't happy. And now that I'm doing the type of work where I can really help people like create the lives that they want to have, like my soul is so happy. My soul is so happy doing that. And it's really interesting. So I think that all those kind of things together, trusting in things and communicating. And that actually my favorite fiction book is The Alchemist. And it's all about listening to your heart. And there's a long period of my life where I don't think I ever listened to my heart. I didn't say, heart, what do you want? What makes you feel good? What makes you joyful? You just do. It's like every day you just wake up and you just do, and you just like react to everything that's like thrown at you. It's like, why don't you start choosing what you want in your life, and really creating the life that you want to live? And a big piece of that is eating well. Like it truly is such a huge piece. And I knew that for a long time. Like I said, growing up, I saw that. I knew that correlation. So for me, that's not something that I had to learn really. It just kind of fell into my life. But I see it all around me of people who haven't learned that lesson yet. And when I'm able to make that shift for them, it's so rewarding. Oh my gosh. I mean, I've had situations where I've had people come to me in like my first meeting with them as a health coach, and they say, I've tried this, 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 and this, and the doctor, and I had the medicine, and the this, the this. I'm like, well, tell me about your diet. And refined sugar, wheat flour, the industrial seed and vegetable oils. I'm like, okay, let's take those things out. Just give me like 5 days, 3 days, whatever you can commit to. Take it out. I literally had this happen. This woman, she took it out, and she's like, those migraines are gone. I was getting them like almost daily, and they're gone. Wow. And she's like, I've tried everything. And I'm like, that makes me so sad. Like, that makes me so sad that, you come to this health coach because you've run out of options, and now it's fixed, and you spent all that money and all that time and all that worry and all that stress. And so
at least it's finally fixed. That's a good story for her. Good outcome.
Amazing.
Anyway.
And I've had a lot of those outcomes. So I really feel like it's such a great time to be working within nutrition. Such a great time because people are really buying into this now. They're seeing the success stories. They're undeniable. Like, they are undeniable when you cut out, wheat flour, processed sugar, refined oils out of your diet. Like, what a relief that is. So I feel really like fortunate. We're like on the cutting edge. Like, this is just such a shift. And there's so many people who are so passionate about it, such as myself. And I just feel really proud to be part of, that part of the culture who's really changing it so that our children can live longer, so we can get those obesity rates down, so people can really take control of their their food culture. I love that I'm a part of that.
That's awesome. So if someone's listening or watching and they're thinking that they want what you have to offer, they want to take control of their food culture, they want to learn how to meal prep for a whole week in only 2 hours, where can we find you online?
Yeah, so my personal business is called Earthivore, like herbivore, earthivore. It's like eat from the earth.
Okay, I love that.
That's my brand. But second to that, that's kind of like how do you work with me one-on-one. And then I also have the Paleo Cooking Bootcamp digital program and cookbook. The cookbook is available all major retailers, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, all that. So that's easy to find. Paleo Cooking Bootcamp, the digital program, can be found through my website, earthivore.com, or we have our own URL, just to make it really easy on people, paleocookingbootcamp.com. So
awesome.
Yeah, that's where you can find us. And yeah, I'm excited. This is like, I've waited for this for a long time now. I developed this cooking class. I think now I started it 2 years ago in January. It was like the start of like a new year. And so I was kind of going with that, with people kind of getting back on track. So now 2 years later, we have this digital program release. I've worked really hard for it, and I'm just excited. I'm so excited to be able to, like, every time I scale this up, I reach more people, and there's nothing better than that to really help people and have people email me like, oh, I love that recipe, and my husband, who doesn't believe in paleo, didn't even know it was paleo, and like that kind of stuff. It just like, it lights me up. I love it. So great.
That's awesome. So final question, and you probably have given a lot of clues to this already, but I love to ask this one, is if 8-year-old Katie had a crystal ball and could see where you are now and everything you've done so far, and then the immediate foreseeable future, next couple weeks, however much you can plan, even though you're trying to not plan so much. But on a scale of 1 to 11, how excited would little Katie be to see Katie right now?
Oh man, she would be so excited. I love little Katie. Little Katie's my buddy. So excited. Like, this is, and particularly, I mean, you're talking to me like the day after this release of this program. I'm just like on like cloud 9 right now. Just to like, there are no, I think I've always lived my life, and little Katie lived her life this way. I can't be put in a box, right? You think I'm an attorney? I'm not. I'm actually a nutritionist and a cooking coach. You think I'm a nutritionist and cooking coach? I'm not. I'm an attorney. You know, it's just always like, I just like to be, and I saw this from your website. My goodness, you are up to so many things and have for your entire life. And so I'm sure I'm speaking to you too. Like, I just want to help. I just always want to challenge and test myself and grow and do things I didn't think I could do, and never be held back. And so that little Katie would be so proud of that.
I love that. So from 1 to 11, what would you say?
Oh, 11, totally.
Okay.
11. We're always trying to improve, but always doing my best too. And you can't not give an 11 if you're always trying to do your best.
I love that. That's so rewarding and fulfilling to hear that too. Because I get a variety of answers. Of course, they're always at the top half at least.
Yeah, that's good.
But then you do get a lot of type A's who are like, well, like a 7 or 8 because I have so much more to do. Yeah. But I like that perspective that as long as you're giving your best, you should be at the top there. So that's great. Well, I appreciate not only that perspective, but everything that you're doing to help the world. I agree 100% that, that is something that needs to be changed, and also that the time is now and there is a shift that is happening. And so it's so cool to talk to someone else who's a part of that, and just appreciate your energy and all that you've offered our listeners and viewers.
Thank you, Mandy. It's been fantastic. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I still can't get over the idea of being able to meal prep an entire week worth of food in 2 hours. That blows my mind. I think I might have to make a purchase and get this boot camp because I am dying to know how to do that. I don't know if I always would, but that would definitely be a good skill to have in my back pocket, I think, especially with the big eater in the house. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the conversation that we had, and if you are interested in winning that cookbook, please head over to www.mandiem.com/episode 135, since this is the 135th episode. That is where you can enter to win the cookbook. You can also see where you can find Katie and her coaching and her bootcamp and her book and all of those wonderful things online. So make sure you take a look at that. I would also love it if you shared this. If you know any people who are working to get healthier in this new year, this would be a great episode for them to listen to get inspired, and to find Katie to get some great tips. I would love it if you subscribed so that you get all of the episodes either automatically downloaded to your phone, or at least get notified when there are new episodes, because we have so many good ones coming up. You don't want to miss them. And then, of course, if you're loving them and don't want to miss them and you've subscribed, what are you waiting for about leaving me a review? That will help iTunes know that we are doing a great job and are worth listening to. So please, if you have time, I would love it if you did that. And of course, while you're trying to help me get this message to more people, another great way to do that would be to share this, send it out. But I already asked you to do that, so we're good to go there. Thank you so much. As always, be bold and have a sparkly day. Bye-bye.
I don't even have to watch a clock.